It's Monday. Welcome into the Illini Inquirer Podcast. It means it's J Leman Day, and it's a tough one to talk about today. Discouraging 27-10 loss at Wisconsin for Illinois. Jay, let's dive right into it. The Indiana game was a disaster, right? You see what Indiana became. This one feels worse. At least to me. Maybe it's because it's the newest one, but this one feels worse to me because of what that Wisconsin team has been, what that Wisconsin offense has been too.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Big Ten play, that Wisconsin offense has not been good. It really hasn't been good the entire season. That's a 3-7 football team. To be honest, it is a team without a real quarterback. No offense to anybody who's playing over there. It's just basically, I don't want to say gimmicky, but borderline running the ball with some power and some counters, some JFL plays, and then, running the quarterback as well and throwing very basic pass concepts when you need to. And that's the offense that put up 27 points. Yes, I know there was a pump block. Yes, I know there was bad positions, but at the end of the day, that team dominated you at the line of scrimmage, I think, on both sides of the ball. And I think that's the most discouraging thing in year 5 of a Bret Bielema tenure, is that's where we're at on the line of scrimmage against a below average Big Ten team that has really, really struggled. I do think they have some defensive players. Luke Fickell's been a good defensive coach for years in this conference. Obviously, coordinator Urban Meyer had success at Cincinnati. But the reality is they are not a better team than Illinois, but they look like a whole lot better team in the way they played. And just the swagger and attitude, I felt the whole year defensively, we've yet to find a swagger defensively. I know that's hard to do when you're giving up a lot of points or maybe not stopping guys on third down, but defense is so much about attitude. You look at that 2022 team, they had a true swagger about how they played. Had some legit characters on that team too that went on to play in the NFL and do very well, but it's missing something on the defensive side of the football, and it's missing something on the offensive side of the football as far as the offensive line goes this game. So lots of things to discuss. I could get into it all. We will.
Yeah, we will. Listen, the offense had one of its worst performances of the season. The special teams made another couple mistakes that cost points. That seems to be happening a lot in wins. We'll talk about that. But defensively, Jay, to give up 2 80-plus yards drives, touchdown drives to Wisconsin, a team that had 4 touchdown drives of 75-plus yards through the first 7 Big Ten games. They did 2 against you. You mentioned outside of Akis and Bailey, I don't know who the playmakers on this defense are, guys who are playing with confidence. And this is just the latest rough look for Aaron Henry in a rough season. You mentioned the swagger. That is one thing I loved about Ryan Walters. There was always a confidence, a swagger, a killer mentality. Year 3, is there an identity of this defense? More often than not, they feel like they're out-schemed, even against, as you said, like a high school offense in this Wisconsin. I just don't know how you go forward with Aaron Henry right now.
Yeah, here's what I saw on Saturday night. This might be the game that really forces Bret's hand. And if you're an Illini fan and you wanted change, maybe this is a good thing for you. I don't ever think losses are necessarily a good thing, but they do reveal inefficiencies and inadequate the places where you're inadequate as a football team. And I just thought, I'll just speak at each position group. I didn't think the D-line played horrible. I thought they made some negative plays. Gabe Akis was solid. I didn't think our interior guys got the push I would like to see them get against a Northwestern team. I thought our linebackers played horrible. I know Dylan Rosiak was banged up. He didn't play much. He's been banged up much of the year. So I hate to judge a player when he's injured, but I saw poor angles by Kreutz. I saw the lack of, I call it block destruction, the ability to get off blocks. I mean, I know that I wasn't the best. The first 2 years, a coach called me Velcro Man because I would just stick on to guys, right? Because I couldn't separate, right? So J Velcro Leman, that's not a great nickname to have, but it kind of felt like that. Taking the wrong angles. And then the back 7, weren't really tested as far as passing goes, but we have not tackled great at the safety position. That was the biggest one, was the Mac Resetich missed tackle, which has happened before. We haven't tackled great at the nickel position, which has been Tanner Heckel, right? We just, Matthew Bailey is a good tackler, and so I don't want to take that away, but he's had some moments this year. Didn't think he had a lot of moments in this game. He played pretty well, but that's what I would look at position to position. But as far as overarching, this is not a Big Ten defense that can take you into the top 5 or 6 teams of the Big Ten. It just isn't where it's at. And it's had 3 years to develop, 3 years to replace a lot of guys that had a lot of experience. We've talked about that 22 team a lot. It's not where it needs to be, and that's the bottom line. I do like Aaron Henry as a person. I do think that he's tried. I do think that they have, tried to plug different things. Has there been injuries? Yes, but every team has injuries. The defense is not pulling their weight. And that's the bottom line. I know they played well against lesser teams like Maryland and Rutgers, and that can be deceptive. But what ends up happening is Wisconsin is a lesser team, and we saw them really get dominated at the line of scrimmage. And I think that's the most concerning thing to me as I look at this football team. And I do believe that you've got to make some major changes in the offseason. Again, those changes are not easy, but they are critical to long-term success and sustaining the upward trend of Illinois football.
It's kind of what I wrote after this game, Jay, is Bret Bielema's got a lot of work to do to take Illinois to another step. And to be honest with you, losing Luke Altmaier to just maintaining what you have now, because it feels like Luke has covered up those flaws the last 2 years, because he's been one of the greatest quarterbacks Illinois has ever had. And boy, he did not get protected against Wisconsin in this one. Just got crushed. The run game was non-existent. We knew, Jay, that Wisconsin defensive front was real, and Illinois not able to handle it whatsoever.
I think what's disappointing is you really felt like you had an advantage at the quarterback position in this, maybe more so than any other game you played. Malik Washington for Maryland, a good football player. It's going to be a good football player, can sling the rock. Caleb Manis has had some good plays this year, an experienced quarterback. You felt like Carter or whoever they had in there was not a real Big Ten quarterback. I mean, at this point, we know that Billy Edwards has been hurt, and it's backups and just trying to make do. And you felt like that was going to be enough, but that was truly negated by that front seven. Is it Peterson, the guy on the left, 17, where Patterson? His get off was incredible. Mason Riger's get off seemed like we were playing in slow motion. Thought this was J.C. Davis's worst game, Melvin Priestley's worst game. They would probably tell you the same just looking at the film. You felt like we weren't able to get much push. And I've heard you guys say it. I do believe that Caden Fagan not getting enough carries, but at the same time, when you're getting stopped for 0 yards and you're, 3rd, 7, 3rd, 8, 3rd and 9 on every third down, then you just tee it up for that defensive line. And so you didn't let your best player be the equalizer for you because you didn't give him time to really throw the football. He got out of 2 or 3 sacks himself as well. And so I didn't think Luke necessarily played his best, but he certainly didn't play bad. He was just under duress the whole game. And I think when I look at the offensive line, I really put them in the same category as the defense. They are not a top 3rd Big Ten offensive line. This is an offensive line that coming into the year, and when people kind of made their camp visits, put this on par with some of the best offensive lines in the Big Ten, possible Joe Moore Award candidate. And to say they have fallen short of that is a huge understatement. They are a middle of the pack offensive line. When we look at the numbers, we look at rush yards, we look at protecting the quarterback, especially against good competition. Guys, they're just not that good. And we've got to change something if we're going to have a change in players, that's for sure, because 4 of them are moving on. But we have to look at something because we're not getting enough consistent run game, specifically early in games.
The holiday season can be so much fun around your loved ones, but it also can be stressful. Think about, what am I going to prepare for that holiday meal at home? What am I going to give that loved one for the perfect gift this holiday season? So whether you're setting an unforgettable gift or treating yourself to everyday perfection, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. Gift USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals, and so much more. I'm telling you, Omaha sent me some of the steaks, some of the burgers, some of the beef franks as well. Those delicious, delicious hot dogs. They're some of the best, most tender meat you can get. And now during their cyber sale, you can get 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites at omahasteaks.com. Don't miss the best deals of the season and exclusive limited time offers. Plus, our listeners get an extra $35 off with promo code Illini at checkout. That's $35 off with promo code Illini at checkout. Again, save big on unforgettable gifts with omahasteaks.com. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code Illini at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code Illini at checkout. Terms apply. See sites for details. What do you think they want to be on the offensive line? Because Bart Miller came in, it felt like that's kind of the Wisconsin style. And then Barry Lundy comes in and changes what the offense is going to be. What do you think Bret needs to be or wants to be on the offensive line moving forward?
You know, what's interesting to me is that we have really tried to run the football basically out of 11 personnel. Some of that is, and that means one tight end, one back, three receivers. And we've yet to go. At times we've gone barge formation. We've had some multiple tight ends. We don't really use a fullback, right? And so largely we've run it out of, I don't want to say a spread concept because we're not running an air raid, but we're more spread out to run the ball than other teams. And quite frankly, you look at what Wisconsin just did to us. They had 2 or 3 fullbacks in, and they were kind of running old school powers and counters and different things. There's not one system that's great, but I do what I would like to see is that I would like to see an ability to have a 12, 22 personnel and actually run the ball at will when we want to. You thought you had an offensive line that you could do that. I'm not saying you have to bunch everybody up and do that. You can run the ball out of the spread. We've seen them do that against USC. We've seen them do that against other teams. We see Indiana run the ball out of 11 personnel really well. So you can run the ball well out of 11 personnel. But it seems like for a Bret Bielema team, they need a little bit, they need something to give them more physicality in the run game. And they found a little bit with Luke Altmaier running the football that kind of opened up some things. They've had really good receiver play, and you got a quarterback that can do a lot. But moving forward without Luke, what does that look like? One thing I'll give credit to Barry, when we had Chase Brown, it was a very run-centered offense, right? Under Tommy DeVito. You don't feel like you've had that bell cow the last 2 or 3 years. And I will say that Luke Altmaier is your best player. So I can see tailoring the offense to him because he's won games for you. It's not throwing everything out, but it's like tweaking what do we want to be? Because right now, our run game simply not getting it done. I think it's part scheme, but I think it's a lot of it is what's happening up front. We're not getting the push that we need. Definitely
need to get bigger at center, right? As good as Josh Kreutz is, you need to get a little bit more physicality. I think he's by far your best pass blocker the other day, but you just get blown up a little bit too much in that A gap. How do you feel about the running backs moving forward, Jay? Because Khalil was so good early in the season. I just haven't seen a lot here recently. And Joey and I've made it clear. I just think Caden Fagan should get a little bit more touches and some creative ways to get him the ball. But how do you feel about that group moving forward?
Well, let's start with Aiden Lawfrey, who the last 2 years has kind of started as the number 1 back on the depth chart through camp, but has been injured. And so he really hasn't been able to excel in what he's done. I know he's a Gibson City guy. I'm for him. I think this is his 4th year in the program. He's got another year. But at the same time, we haven't seen him have 4 or 5 games healthy in a row where he can really get a rhythm. Khalil Valentine, I don't think he's an every down back right now. I think he's got to get more strength. But I think he's really gifted. If you can get him in the open field on some of those outside runs, he does great. Probably his best run of the night was that little sweep where he cut it up and made some people miss. I think Caden Fagan, although he has his limitations, is probably the guy that's been playing the best the last 5 or 6 games with his ability to fall forward, his ability to receive the ball, and he's been the most consistent. That doesn't mean he's gotten the most carries, but he seems to be the most consistent. At the same time, though, there's not one of those guys that says that's the guy. There's not one Chase Brown out there that's kind of risen to the top. There's not one bell cow running back, a Nick Singleton, a Katron Allen that you'd say, or a LaRon Black or whoever it may be that you're like, that's the guy. Nobody's really taken that position.
All right, the punt team. I mean, special teams actually has been pretty good. But in these losses, man, it's just been Indiana. You get a punt block for a touchdown early in the game. Ohio State, kneel punt on a bad snap. There's 2 bad snaps by Lane Hansen in this one. The second one, a disaster. 17-10, Jay. You punt it away, you get a stop, you might have a chance to tie the game again. Just brutal to have these special teams mistakes in these losses.
And they're preventable. I mean, I think the first one was we had 10 guys in the field against Indiana. I think against Ohio State, Lane Hansen was injured. It had a backup in, and Mahoney was, had a poor snap. Now, is Lane 100% healthy? I'm not sure, but because he's been a great snapper for the last 3 or 4 years, did the injury play into that? Probably. Again, there's all things we don't know, but at the same time, if you go out and play, this is the thing about football. Nobody's 100% right now. If you go out and play, you're expected to be able to perform. And if you're a snapper, that's just the way it is. I mean, in the NFL, you have one bad snap, you're literally cut, right? So it's like that's how it is. And so you cannot afford – the stats are staggering, Jeremy. If you look at – I remember sitting in a special teams meeting one time. The probability of winning the game if you have a blocked punt is like 4%. It's something crazy. It's unbelievable if you can overcome a block punt. Those are essentially 4 block punts. I know we downed it in different things, but those are essentially 4 block punts.
It's like a 60-yard difference in field position, right?
60-yard difference. On each of those, they led to a touchdown. Pons obviously took it in for a touchdown, but it flips the field, number one. Number two, it's such a momentum thing because like there's offense and there's defense. Hey, we got to stop, or hey, we're going to go out there and get a field, have a whole field to defend. It's a momentum shifter, and so that's been really difficult as well. Along with, there's a couple of things that didn't keep you in that game. Alano misses another field goal. This is 2 in a row. He's been good, but that's it. Inside the 40, he's been very, very good. He misses that, right? And now instead of being tied at half, okay, with everything going on, and now after that block punt, it's now a 2-score game rather than a 1-score game, which is a little bit different. And the way that I think the worst thing that I saw is the mark of a good football team is how do they respond when bad things happen? I thought after that punt, they didn't respond well. I know they got a 3 and out here and there, but the offense didn't respond great. And after the big run, they did not respond well. They just kind of went in the tank. And that just was the mental toughness of this team and the swagger to do that. To me, that's preparation. To me, that's coaching. To me, that's leadership at the player level. And to see that in game 11 of year 5, with guys you've been sowing into, it's like, I know you have bad games, but man, we cannot afford to have that when you're University of Illinois. You're still not Ohio State. You can show up and beat people. You cannot show up and beat people. The talent level is too close to do that.
That's how I felt, because I felt coming into this game, Illinois should win, right? It felt like they thought that too. That's what I saw on the field. And when they got down and Dupree has that touchdown run, it just felt like, oh, we're going to lose this game. That's what I thought. They're going to lose this game when that happened. And it felt like they thought that the game was done after that moment too, Jay. Like, really concerning for a Bret Bielema team, because that doesn't seem to happen that often.
Well, and they got some senior leaders too, but I think they were completely overwhelmed. If you watch the tape on the offensive side of the football, completely overwhelmed by that front. It looked like it was sharks smelling blood in the water, and they were coming out and just their get off and batting balls down. And we really did not have an answer. You know what still chills me to this day is when Bret was super honest after the Indiana game, he said, we just didn't have any answers for what they were doing. And a lot of teams haven't had answers against Indiana, but if you're playing against a 3-7 team, who's got some athletes, right? They're a Big Ten team. Every Big Ten team is going to have some athletes. But I will tell you this, their defense looked much faster than our offense did. And we're moving at a different speed. I think I've seen that in the losses. It's not that I think we're overall slow. Do I think we have great team speed? No. But it seems like we play tentative. We kind of get in this mode where we kind of play to keep it not to lose and to keep it close and not to win. And I think that's the most frustrating thing for me is that you had this Illini trauma. If you watch this game for a long time, right? That starts to come up in these. You're like, okay, I've seen this movie before. And that's kind of what I felt like. You kind of felt like, oh, can we keep it close? Can we keep those other games over? And I just, that hasn't been the case much, but it certainly was on Saturday.
What would you want to see more from Barry Illini? There are times I wanted some more quick passes, but kudos to Peterson for knocking some of those down to the ground. There's the one to Khalil in the flat. I just felt like they didn't have those counters, Jay, to what they were doing up front.
So I would say this: a offensive coordinator gets better during the game the more plays that they have. Okay, I know that sounds like a simple concept, right? But the more plays that you have, you earn more plays by when you play well, you earn more plays, you earn the right to stay on the field by gaining first downs. And you can see the game plan kind of evolve, right? Same defensively, if you can get off the field, you're going to hamper that offensive coordinator and you're going to stay fresh and do all these things. So it kind of builds throughout the game. Okay. That's why that first drive was so devastating by Wisconsin, right? It just is like 16 plays, 9 minutes, and like they're setting you up. They're seeing how you're responding. They get your whole game plan of how you're going to do on the script, right? So it's like,
just think, Jay, you had him in 3rd and 11 on the 3rd play of the game.
third and 11, right? You're like, well, what's going on? Okay, so all of that. But as far as Barry goes, I don't think he was able to get fully in his bag because of the inability to run the football. Okay, and here's the deal: on a play sheet, let's say a guy probably has 10 to 12 plays for 3rd and 9 plus. Maybe he has 4 or 5 he really likes. Well, dude, after you run those like twice each and you get sacked 1 out of every 2 times you do it, what are you going to do? So I do wish, and some of these are batted down, I do wish we would have just said, okay, you know what? We can't protect anyway. Let's spread them out even more. Okay. Let's not even keep our backs in. Let's spread out everybody. Okay. And let's just go hurry up, quick game, quick outs, do this, do that, right? Because I think we have an advantage at quarterback and receiver. That's what I would have liked to see. We weren't able to run the football. I wish we could run the football, right? I think you sprinkle in some quarterback draw, you sprinkle in a little screen game, a little tailback hide screen, a little tunnel screen to Hank Beatty, right? I know that you got some stuff knocked down and whatnot. Throw to the edges a little bit more. Get on the edge, quick outs to Beatty and do different things. I think all of those could have helped. Move the pocket, a sprint out, a bootleg. I have not seen a ton of naked bootlegs or play actions with Luke. And I think it could be really, really good because he's really good on the move. Move the pocket. If I'm getting blasted in the pocket, I've got to move the pocket. I've got to get quick game. We got him on the hard count early in the game, but the hard count wasn't what it was, for other games. And so I think they tried that, but it was Wisconsin wasn't biting on it. So I would move the pocket. I would be quicker. Again, when you can't run the ball, that makes it difficult. When you get negative plays early on, quick game gets kind of taken out because quick game is 4 or 5 yard routes and you got to get first downs. You have to have longer developing plays. So all kind of builds on itself.
One of my favorite things about waking up in the morning is coffee. And it's even better if you get it from Columbia Street Roastery. And the best thing to do around the holidays is give coffee. And they got a great way of doing that. Columbia Street Roastery, if you go to csrcoffee.com, they have a subscription box that you can get. Each month, Columbia Street sends you freshly roast coffee of 3 different half-pound bags. You can get from their flavored coffee box, their dark roast, their medium roast, their decaf box, and you can get a subscription for $25 per month. What a great way and what a great gift to give. Or if you want to get something for yourself, go to csrcoffee.com. Check out all their fall flavors, all their great brews, and they also have tea and hot cocoa. So go check them out at csrcoffee.com. And our listeners, you get 10% off your first order if you use the code GOILLINI2025. Again, go to visit csrcoffee.com, get 10% off your first order with the code GOILLINI2025. You get free shipping on orders over $45. That's all at Columbia Street Roastery at csrcoffee.com. All right, Jay, you win against Northwestern, you keep the hat, you get to 8 wins, you get to a good bowl game, you can feel decent about the season. I'm really concerned about Northwestern, though. They took Michigan down to the wire. Michigan needed a last-second field goal to beat Northwestern Wrigley Field. They beat Minnesota 38-35. Their offense gets going a little bit. They're feeling good. They got a bowl game in the bag, trying to get a trophy. It's supposed to be a snowy day, Saturday in Champaign. Not going to be a lot of fans there because of the Thanksgiving holiday. The mentality better get right for Illinois because Northwestern's going to bring it this week. They're going to be playing with their hair on fire. that's what concerns me most is how does Illinois respond? How does Bret Bielema get them to respond here?
Well, we saw them respond really well after Indiana and beat USC, probably their best response. Didn't respond great after their Ohio State loss in the bye week. They came out late against Washington. Came back, responded well against Rutgers and Maryland. I think Bret can get it right. I think they've got enough senior leaders. This is the last time a lot of these guys are playing Memorial Stadium. A lot of these guys on the offense are going to be playing. Guys that have been big contributors, 4 offensive linemen, Hank Beatty, Luke Altmaier. This is going to be a big moment for them. So you hope that they're ready to play. But we have just been plagued by slow starts. It's been really, really difficult. And I think the more you let them hang around, and I don't want to say let Northwestern hang around because I feel like they're a good football team. It's not like you're going to blow them out. The more that you start slow and have to battle from behind, the more you're going to be in trouble because you're going to have on tape a defensive line that is going to be pinning their ears back because they've seen on tape that you've not been able to block that in multiple games, whether it be Duke, whether it be other games, Indiana, Washington, this game. It's just you've got to start fast.
Yeah, I agree with you. This team needs to get a lead, feel good about itself a little bit. What concerns you just in the actual football matchup, or what do you think of the keys to the game of the actual football matchup here?
Well, I think any time you play a good Northwestern team, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not bad. They are the epitome, and they always have been this of letting you beat yourself. And if we're going to have stupid penalties, if we're going to let punts be blocked, and if we're not going to cause one turnover or pick up a fumble that's on the ground that's there for us to pick up, I think we're going to lose this football game, right? Because that's what if you look at Northwestern's wins, that's what they do. And this is a team that has gotten a lot better since the beginning of the season. The team that got blown up by Tulane. Tulane's a good football team. But, barely beat UCLA on the road, I think, early on. But, you look at that Oregon game when they played, they show a couple signs of like sticking with Oregon, like for a half. When I was watching them play, I'm like, how are they sticking? And then they absolutely destroyed. I got to watch the Purdue game. They actually absolutely destroyed Purdue up front. I mean, they ran the ball with authority. So I think they're going to look at the tape and say, we're going to be able to run the football on these guys because of what Wisconsin did. We're going to pin our ears back and bring pressure on Luke, okay? And we're going to wait for Illinois to self-destruct in some phase of the game. Sounds bad because that's what Bret does to other teams. And again, I don't want to say the sky is falling. It certainly isn't. But this is a college football is such a game of momentum within a game and within the season. Momentum certainly with the Wildcats right now. It feels like they've got a lot on their side right now. They're playing very tough with their last games, and Illinois doesn't have a ton of momentum after that loss.
What would it mean to win this game, Jay, for Illinois? I know it's not 9 wins. I know it's not college football playoff berth, but what would it mean to win a rivalry game, get to 8 wins?
I think it's huge. I think it's huge to get to 8 wins, not only for a better bowl game, but it's your rival. It's who you recruit against. It's the last game for some seniors and a quarterback that's won a lot of football games for you, right? And again, it's about the trajectory of this program and what can you sell to recruits, to guys in the portal about what you're building here. Are you a top half Big Ten team? And I think the record will speak to that because they're 4-4 in the Big Ten, right? So this is to have a winning record in the Big Ten. I know you're gonna have a winning record overall, but 8-4 sounds pretty good. And you're right in line there with Iowa. You're right. You're a step above Minnesota and Northwestern. You're supposed to be above Wisconsin, but you're not after that game. But overall, you are. Nebraska got demolished by a Penn State team that's reeling a little bit. So I mean, you're still in relatively good position, but you are lining up to be kind of like I'll say, the Iowa fans get upset sometimes when they have the 7 or 8 wins, right? And then Kirk stays there, and then he'll come up with an 11-win season and different things. So I think you're still positioning yourself to have those years. And you're certainly light years ahead of where you were 5 years ago. But it does feel to me as a fan, you felt like your preseason, I think number 12, you're right on the edge of being a playoff contender. And you feel like with everything you had coming back, you thought you were good on both sides of the ball up front. And you had some stars on defense and you had a really good quarterback. It seems like a disappointment. But at the same time, what's done is done. You got to move on and win the next game.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like Bret Bielema has raised the standard, right, to where 7-4 doesn't feel good. Like it doesn't feel right with this group that you had, the expectations you had coming in. But it is important to sustain success, and I think momentum is a real thing. If you can find a way to beat Northwestern, go to a bowl game, and win that, it feels a heck of a lot better, Jay.
Oh,
and then ending this thing 7-6.
And Brett has completely turned around the Northwestern thing, right? I mean, I think he's 2-2 against them. Is that right? Or 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1.
3-1. Yeah, because he won in 2021. I remember in Peterson's last game. Yes. So he's 3-1. Before that, I think from like 01 to 2020, I think we were like 4-16 or something bad, right? Something really, really bad. And you're like, okay, like he's turned that around for us. And so at the end of the day, is it as huge a rivalry as Ohio State, Michigan, or the Iron Bowl? No, but it is a rivalry. We do play a rivalry week. It is in state. And, I don't know if it's as raucous as the old Chicago's Big Ten team stuff they used to say back in the day. But I do believe it's an important game, and you feel a lot better, and you feel like you keep momentum for the season.
Hopefully it is a good day to honor the senior class because, boy, they've been a part of a lot of wins here, Jay. Luke Altmaier, Hank Beatty, Tanner Arkin, who I think is just blocking his butt off right now, Josh Kreutz, Josh Geske, J.C. Davis, Melvin Priestley, James Thompson, Gabe Akis, Dylan Rosiak, Nendo Odeluga, Xavier Scott, Miles Scott, Matthew Bailey could be getting honored here in this game. That's been an important group, especially these last two seasons.
Oh, really important group. A lot of those guys were really before Illinois had turned the corner too. And let me just take a moment to talk about Gabe Akis. I think he's number 2 all time in sacks now for Illinois. People can say, hey, he hasn't been productive when we need him. I mean, you look at it, he has nine sacks, I think, could have 10 sacks. That's hard to do in anything. And you got to give props to a guy like that who's been consistent every year, stayed really, really healthy. And guys, I can't tell you, it's hard to hit somebody every down. It's hard. Like it's not for the faint of heart. Like that's why I like to play linebacker, hit people half the time, half the plays you don't. So a lot of these guys have done good things, and a lot of them have been good evaluations. Matthew Bailey was a guy they evaluated and has played a lot of time for them. Miles Scott, a walk-on who's kind of come on and said, hey, or earned a starting spot after switching from offense to defense. And then offensive line, Geske is a guy they've really developed out of Mantino, and just, so you see the pieces, you see kind of the formula that's kind of been built, and kind of the blueprint, and you can't take away what this group has done. If their freshman year was 2022, you've got 8 wins, 5 wins, 10 wins, 7 wins. You'd be hard pressed to find an Illinois football class in the modern era that has, 27 wins or so, in with the chance to get 2 more in 4 years. That's good football.
All right, I did this exercise with Joey in the car on the way home from Madison because you lose all those guys.
Yeah, you and Joey, man. There was this time me and Joey were in the car. If a flag could be on the wall for that.
Yeah, we have a lot of good conversations in there. How many starters, how many guys coming back do you feel good as starters next year? Hank Beatty and Hudson Clement, right?
Well, is Hank coming back?
Or not Hank Beatty, Hudson Clement and Colin Dixon.
Yes, so you got those 2 guys. You have my hopes up there, by the way.
Yeah, sorry about Hank.
No, okay. You feel like if Caden Fagan comes back, he's probably your running back number 1. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys at the running back position hits the portal or is encouraged to, because of that. Just kind of what we saw with Josh McCray. Okay. I don't necessarily have a firm starter at tight end. I really don't. Nobody's really stuck out.
Cole Rush could be a part of it, right?
He could be your 11 personnel. Like, I need to throw the football guy. Okay. Brandon Henderson, for as much time as he's gotten, seems to always be on the coach's bad list of guys that gets taken out or not consistent enough. It seems to be that may not be wrong. I thought TJ McMillan played well when he played at center. I don't know if he's an every 12 game center guy, right? But I'm starting to lose names right now as I'm trying. It's getting kind of short here.
I mean, the offensive line, you're going to have 4 new starters. You could have 5. defensive line, Angelo McCollum, right? I mean,
I think Angelo McCollum's earned that nose spot.
Yeah.
I think
Tommy Waugh
will be back. I think that Barna will be able to make the leap. He's gotten some playing time. I think that Joe Barna will be the starter. He's battled some injuries, I know, but I think Joe Barna will be a starter. I'd like to see Daniel Brown just stay healthy. And you can tell he's put some serious weight on since he got here. I think
I watch Peterson. I'm like, Daniel Brown's got some of that to him. I just haven't seen it enough.
Right. Yeah, he does. And so I'm like, okay, Daniel Brown.
Linebacker, man.
Guys, I don't as positive as I was on linebacker at the end of the season. I'm really negative on it, especially when you see like a guy like Mason Posa or
Catalano.
Well, those guys was one of those Illinois target or
Illinois was the first offer. Catalano had him on campus like 5 times. Yeah.
Okay. So can Grant Bierman be that level at some point? I think so. I don't know if he'll be there next year. He's a lot different build than those guys. He's longer. He's leaner. You got to put some weight on. I'm very discouraged at the linebacker position. Here's the thing. Linebacker is your number one eraser and your nickel, right? Now you lost your nickel in a good strong safety, but you lost your nickel in Xavier Scott. Does he come back? We don't know. But we've got to get some playmakers at linebacker. I mean, it's not like these guys have not had chances. Like it'd be one thing like, oh, Malachi Hood needs to get on the field. We've seen Malachi Hood get on the field. We've seen James Kreutz get on the field. You're going to lose Dylan Rosiak. We don't have enough guys. When's the last time you felt like you saw a linebacker shoot through the gap and make a tackle for loss or make a big physical tackle? I saw Rosiak make a great tackle on the quarterback, the one tackle that he had in the game. I give him that. But we're not seeing linebackers erase mistakes. Defensive linemen, they have their hand on the ground, okay? They can get their gap and they can do some things and create penetration. But when stuff breaks down or a running back breaks, you've got to be able to erase and fill the gap that maybe the D lineman was. That's what a linebacker does. We have not had a linebacker recently that is erasing mistakes on a consistent level. And that's what's just you need that to play defense because stuff happens offensively. You got to have an eraser. We don't have that. Okay. So again, I get long-winded on linebackers because I'm passionate about, but we just haven't seen the linebacker play that we need. Right. And Dylan Rosiak's been hurt.
How much of that is talent? Just pure talent. Because Malachi Hood has it. I just don't know if he's where he needs to be all the time.
I don't see a lot of, this is going to sound like it's ethereal, but instincts. I think instincts are so important. I see guys taking like the wrong angles, the wrong steps. I'm not saying they're not prepared. I'm not saying that they're not coached up. Offensive schemes are more wild than ever. But I'll tell you this. I would have loved to play an offense like Wisconsin. If you're going to run the ball 40 times, I will get 15 tackles. Please don't spread me out. Please don't be like Missouri with Chase Daniel where I ran all around the field in empty sets, right? I hate that. Like I would have loved to be in that set because they're running the ball right at me. And so I don't think we're playing with great instincts. I don't think we're able to get off blocks like we need to get off blocks. And I don't think we're making impact tackles, tackles for loss. Look at the tackles behind the line of scrimmage from our linebackers, right? A good linebacker should have double-digit tackles for loss because you're attacking the line of scrimmage. I don't see that. Some of that's scheme, some of that's talent, but we've got to upgrade that position.
Defensive back, I'd make Matthew Bailey really consider returning to school. That's what I would do. I'd put a lot of money into that. And Jaheim Clark, Juice Clark. I don't know anybody else who I feel great about.
So are Cox and Patterson, do they have another year? Both of them?
Patterson does.
Cox does not.
Cox does not.
So Patterson played decent last year. I don't know if it was injuries, if it was confidence, if it whatever it was, but he didn't have a great year this year. Okay. I think Matthew Bailey is, when he plays well, is an eraser in the run game. He can tackle, he can hit, right? Does he have some limitations coverage wise? Yes. I thought he was better in coverage this year than he was like last year. And I think he can be a good football player. Who is going to be your nickel if Xavier Scott doesn't come back? And who is going to be your other corner and your free safety with Miles Scott? You thought they were high on Mac Resetich and Heckel because these guys, have great measurables,
traits,
right? But at the end of the day, you have to ask your question, were they a diamond in the rough for a reason? Was there a reason that there were not other people jumping on them? And, Matt Grusevich, I think, has explosiveness, but we just haven't tackled well in space. Tanner Heckel, other than the Duke game, which he had a breakout game in a reserve role, has looked lost at sometimes about playing against Big Ten receivers and competition. And guys, if we're weak at those positions, those are where some of the big plays happen, actually, because we're missing a tackle there. We might be ready. We might have the right call, but you miss that tackle and it's done.
Well, Jay, what I come out of this game is this is one of the biggest pivot points of Bielema's tenure this offseason. They're gonna have some money to spend. They've raised good money. They have a lot of cap space opening up, but he faced this a little bit at Arkansas midway through his tenure. He's like, got to change some coaching staff positions, and I think you and I agree some of that's got to happen this offseason. But man, then just a bunch of roster turnover and changing a quarterback, all of that. This is a big pivot point for Bielema to keep this thing going.
Yeah, really big. It does sound like they have, based on what he says in the press conference, he feels like he has the tools he needs to go out and get it done. I think the big question is, can we continue to develop the players on campus, number one? But two, can you go out at these key positions we just talked about and get a day one starter that can impact the game, right? And play 11, 12 games for you. And then ultimately, you may have to replace two coordinators this year. And I don't think that game helped Barry Lenny's cause at all, but I do think you may have to pick. If you're replacing two coordinators and a quarterback, that alone is a ton. But you got to rework a whole entire offensive line. You've got to find some kind of pass rusher in the portal. You've got to find a linebacker and DBs. There's a lot of pieces that you have to find, and I'm not sure all those pieces are on campus. And we've seen them maybe think that the guys on campus are better than maybe they are when they play against Big Ten competition, which means the Big Ten's got guys too. Like every team has guys, but we've got to be able to compete with those guys, right? So
go win this game, Jay. That's the most important thing for Bret Bielema. Go win this game.
Listen, that's the most important thing. And I will say this, and I mean, a week from now, we'll be through the Thanksgiving week. We'll have the spat for the hat will be done and everything. And we're going to see some colossal changes, I believe, right after that signing day, which is Wednesday. So I think we'll see that across the board. Team will sign, and then we will have a cascade going into the championship weekend of coaching changes across the board. I think you'll see coaching changes at the University of Illinois. I think you see coaching changes all across the country happening, and we're going to have just absolute chaos going on. And so, and portals open it up and everything. So it's going to be crazy.
And it's a great point about the calendar, Jay. I think after signing day is a big point of that. You want to get everybody signed and then potentially make that move before you hit the transfer portal to start in January. All right, J Leman, you're the goods man. We'll talk next week after this. Kind of looking forward to the bowl season for Illinois and see where we stand. But appreciate it as always, man.
You got it. Take care.